Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Sane, and today we're going to be covering control guide, I guess is the best way to say it. Covering controls, what I recommend you should try out for controller, if you're using controller whether you're on console or you're on PC. The control layout is pretty much the same. All that PC really adds is more like visual things like VSync, so the controls should look the same. Everything that we're going to cover is going to be the same whether you're on PC or console. I am on PS4 here. So I'm going to be showing off PS4, but I also play on a secondary account on PC, so I have the same controls and everything. Just gonna give you guys kind of a guide of what I use, what I recommend you should use as a controller player, and some things I could recommend if you want to kind of step up your, not step up, I guess if you want to kind of speed up your look sensitivity, stuff like that. Give you kind of some sets and how I recommend you should really find your comfort zone with it. So let's get right into it. So I always recommend using a gun like the Wingman and then a full auto gun, usually one with higher recoil like the R99, to test out when you're testing out sensitivities. You get kind of the feel of, flick shots and single fire guns, as well as, fully automatic guns. I think controlling recoil is a huge part of why you should pick whatever sensitivity you have, because controlling recoil, let's face it, controlling recoil and aiming everything on controller is a lot harder than it is on mouse and keyboard. Mouse is really easy to use. And you're going to be going up against mouse and keyboard players if you really take Apex seriously, especially with crossplay and tournaments and everything like that. So I will say I always recommend getting a controller that has these back buttons. Here I'm using the Astro C40. I've got these two back buttons, one for crouch and one for jump. This helps me kind of, with my movement, I feel like I can really keep up movement-wise with a mouse and keyboard, which has access to more buttons and everything like that. I recommend getting something like this, at least just a two-paddle, whether it's Astro C40, Scuff, Gaming, Battle Beaver, or you have the Xbox Elite 2 controller, stuff like that. There's plenty of great controllers out there. I personally use the Astro C40. I've had a Scuff Impact. It fared me well, and then some issues came up with it, so I'm not using it right now. But yeah, I recommend getting some paddles, or any kind of controller that has these back buttons or paddle buttons, at least two. I really recommend investing into one of those if you really want to take Apex Legends seriously, and just shooter games seriously with controller. So let's just get into some of the settings. A lot of the settings here in gameplay are going to be pretty universal, or not universal, pretty just whatever you prefer. I don't think it really matters that much. I like ping accuracy on faded just because I feel like I can still see it clearly, and it doesn't really obscure vision that much, but I also don't really ever notice when it's on default.
Spotted an enemy over there.
Like I can't really ever tell the difference, but faded, just to me, doesn't obscure the vision quite as much, or at least I feel like it doesn't, but doesn't really do anything. So if you ever feel like your pings are a little too bright or something, try faded. It can help you out. Damage numbers, crosshair feedback. This is an interesting one. I just slapped that big X on there. I find that kind of distracting, as well as with the shield. I ended up, I feel like I don't want that X. I feel like I can understand when my I see the numbers, and that's all I need. I feel like the X is a little bit too distracting, so I would recommend trying that, taking it off, and just getting really used to registering your hits with the number, rather than having that, hit like that. I feel like that X is just a little too distracting for me. So I would recommend playing with that, turning it off, seeing how you like it. Damage numbers, you definitely don't. You're insane in these. Like, you're doing some kind of challenge run or some stupid thing like that if you turn damage numbers off. I recommend doing stacking. That, which I think just obscures the vision too much. It's hard to count the number of how much damage I'm doing, while stacking does this. Easily counts it up for me. It doesn't distract my vision. A very good number of what I can tell my teammates. 200 to Octane. Push Octane, I did 200. He's dead or something like that. 88 on Octane, 88 purple, 88. 77 flesh, you know. Really easy math for me. Stacking, you can even do both if you want. Both, you'll see it does the damage and also adds it up, but I think still, when it floats above like that, I think it just obscures my vision and distracts me too much. So I have it just set on stacking. That's something I think you should play with. If the floating numbers really helps you add things up for whatever reason and it isn't distracting for you, then go for it. I recommend either stacking or both. Both just because it literally does it. And you have that total. See, I did 72 damage. I can easily communicate that to my teammates. But I find stacking the least distracting of all of them. So that is one I recommend you should play with. I recommend stacking, but change it around. See if the floating really distracts you. If it doesn't, then maybe go both. You know, whatever you want. All of this other stuff, I would recommend just leaving on whatever it is default. Auto sprint, double sprint, I don't think you should turn on unless you really need to for your controller or something, or you're just really comfortable with it. You want to have as much control with walking and sprinting as possible. This game is very movement based and really help with your strafing, and also you just want to walk sometimes. Like sometimes it's better just to walk up on somebody than it is to sprint, just because you can walk in ADS and stuff like that. So if you just walk and hit fire like this, it's better because you can't sprint and hit fire. Because if you're walking, there's something really important actually. When you're sprinting, see how I have to pull the gun up to shoot. So again, walking around a corner is better. Now, of course, if you do some more movement stuff like jumping, then you can. Walking is going to be important for just quicker hip fire and quicker ADS. Like when you're sprinting, it takes to really pull the gun. Yeah, I would definitely recommend just leaving those off. Have as much control as through walking and sprinting as you can. All of this stuff is really just, I would just leave it off really. I don't think it does that much. Incoming damage feedback, try it with 2D and 3D in both. Whatever feels easiest for you to register. I like 2D, I think that just makes the most sense to me. I feel like 3D I sometimes lose it and can't keep track of where I'm getting shot from. 2D is just simple and clean for me. Shoutouts to coffee. Homemade coffee. Now this is a very interesting setting down here, colorblind mode. I do not have any issues with color blindness or anything like that. But as you'll see on my reticle is yellow. Here, I'll take this off so you guys can see better. My reticle is yellow, and that's only because of this colorblind setting. All other colors are pretty much the same.
Oh,
it just turns red to yellow. So you can see my pings are yellow and my reticle is yellow. Default, my pings and my reticle are red.
Got a numpty here.
I personally like the yellow just for my tracking and everything. And I feel like I can keep the reticle on point better. I feel like with red it gets lost a little bit because yellow is just a brighter, more highlighted color. So I would definitely recommend trying this setting out. Just going in firing range, you know, testing this in a couple of games and seeing how you like the yellow reticle. It's really helped me out. I think it's, especially with like the wingman, because this is my setup for the wingman. You know, I'll use this 1 times. Place my shots a lot better with this gun. You see, like the headshots to me, I can just follow them with the just normal red dot. I feel like it's not as comfortable for me personally. So I recommend giving it a shot. You'll see it changes the colors of the shields just like a little bit. Like the red is kind of more orangish right here, and if I change it to this, it's more of a, I guess like a softer red, but they're, you know, this is the same color, so it's not like it really changes things up that much. It really only changes the reticle, so give that a shot. These other two, if you have any kind of colorblind issues, you know, try them out. Shoutouts to pink reticle. I think it's awesome. I think it gets lost more than red does. Actually, maybe it's a little. This changes the colors up way too much for me. Like purple is pink, which looks white, so I don't like that. Because I don't have any colorblind issues. But if you like me, don't have any colorblind issues, try out this Tritanopia. I think that's how you say it. This last one here. See how you like it. I personally think it's great. I think it's really helpful. I'll turn my capture card down a little bit too. Yeah, give that a shot. That's pretty much going to do it for gameplay settings. Now in controller. Controller, I recommend going button puncher or ninja, just because whatever access you can get to crouch spamming without having to take your hand off of the right stick, so you can keep your aiming as precise as usual. This could really be mitigated if you have a controller that has these back bumpers, or these back paddles. For example, I use crouch here, so it doesn't matter that my crouch is on my right stick too. But it's just gonna help you out. Make sure you keep so you can have the highest mobility while not having to sacrifice, letting go of the analog stick. Precise aiming while still crouch spamming and moving around and stuff like that. I recommend button puncher. You can try ninja. Button punchers is really smooth and easy and just very easily translates over because the only thing that changes is crouch and melee. Really smooth transition there. You can try ninja if you really want to try, jump and crouch on the shoulder buttons. That feels weird to me. I feel like you need to be using the controller like this, which is just awkward in my opinion, so I don't use ninja, but I recommend at least button puncher. This is easy crouch spam control while still having full access to my analog stick here. But most of this is mitigated just to the fact that I have this button back here. So now the reason I will say actually, real quick, the reason I have this is jump and crouch is because this really helps me with my jump sliding, crouch sliding, all stuff, all these kind of more advanced movement techniques that you get into. In Apex Legends with bunny hopping, I think these two buttons on my controller really help me out with smooth movement, take my hand off the triggers or the analog stick. So it's just super smooth movement, super smooth control. I definitely recommend looking into a controller like this. Next up, stick layout. I don't think you need to change anything unless you have a history of using these other stick layouts in like Call of Duty, whatever. Interact, reload, whatever you feel most comfortable with. I just like to tap it to reload. I feel like I don't like to hold. And I like to hold to pick up, or just tap to pick up something. I feel like it makes just my whole experience playing the game a lot faster. I don't have to waste time, holding a button. Just got much quicker, interaction time. So I just leave that. I put that as tap to use reload. I recommend playing with it. If anything feels more comfortable for you, absolutely put it on. Crouch and aim. Put on hold for both. A lot of people use toggle crouch because that just makes it easier because you just toggle the button and then you stay in crouch. But when you have it on hold, it really makes the movement, such as bunny hopping and such as crouch sliding, a lot smoother to use. If you have it on toggle, you have to push the button twice and it doesn't really work as comfortably. I think there are some pros, I think Nicewig uses toggle crouch, as far as I know. That's what he feels more comfortable with, so I mean, if you feel more comfortable with toggle crouch, go for it, but hold crouch also just makes crouch spamming like this really easy. So yeah, I'm just tapping and releasing the button, able to bob and weave, and I just have so much control. And if you use toggle aim, you're weird. You're just weird. You need to figure something out if you use toggle aim. Alright, probably the most important section of this video is going to be these three things here. Menu cursor speed and sensitivity. Menu cursor speed is all... Let's see, the theme of these three is go as fast as you feel comfortable going. As you see here, I really don't have my menu cursor speed up too high. I think I've gone about 8 ticks over. You see, I go to the end and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's what I feel comfortable moving around a menu, which the only menu you really want to look around is death boxes. And when you're on controller, you don't have really the access to WASD moving around while you're looting a box like you do on mouse and keyboard. When you loot a box on controller, you are stuck still. You get a standstill. So turning your menu cursor speed will really help you move around, navigate the menu really quickly, grab that shield swap, get back into the fight as quickly as possible. If you have it too slow, it's just going to take you too long to get to that shield, so turn it up. You could even just move around the menu like this, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable and the most accurate. Just turn it up as high as you feel comfortable using. I'd recommend going up pretty high and seeing how it feels for you. I feel like this is comfortable for me, but I'm also just not as accurate. I feel like if I just go to 8 ticks, it's just fast enough for me while I'm still accurate and able to grab the shields quick enough. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. That's what feels most comfortable to me. All these dead zone stuff, you shouldn't really do anything with unless you have some weird controller issues, but yeah. Menu cursor speed, turn it up as fast as you feel comfortable moving around. It's very important for shield swapping mid-fight on a controller. Look sensitivity and ADS sensitivity. I will always recommend to anyone who wants to try out turning their sensitivity up from just the default 3.3, I recommend trying 4 ADS and 5 normal look sensitivity. I will say, Snipedown is probably the best controller player that Apex Legends has ever seen, and he runs 3.3. He feels comfortable on 3.3. So if you want to use 3.3 or whatever you feel the most comfortable using, it's not gonna be life or death. We have a top 3 Apex Legends player in the entire world who uses 3.3. So if you want to use 3.3, go use 3.3 Lite. Be my guest. Do whatever you feel most comfortable with. However, if you want to really turn your sensitivity up higher, be able to track people and keep track of people moving around and just have faster control, I would recommend going up to 5 and 4. I feel like 5, you get fast enough look around so you can loot quickly, really survey the area fast, and you have still good control of the fire, which is a very important thing to take note of when you're just doing normal look sensitivity, is your hip fire is going to be drastically affected by this. And you don't want to just completely relax without ever touching the stick, because you're going to need the stick to control your recoil. As you see here, I have to hold down on the stick to control the recoil. So, I recommend at least going to 5. Now, what I would say you should do for both ADS and look sensitivity is turn it up to the max and see how that feels for you. As you can see, for me, I feel like this is way too out of control for me. I don't feel like I can control my hip fire nearly enough, so I turned it down to 7, and I tried out 7. And I still felt like that was too fast, so I turned it down to 6. And 6 is where I personally felt comfortable. I felt like I could control my recoil and also just look fast enough, move around fast enough. So I recommend going as high as you feel comfortable going. Start at the top and work your way down until you feel comfortable. I personally found solace in 6 super high. I used 5.4 for the longest time. That felt comfortable to me. I recently moved up to 6, which feels more comfortable to me as I move around and stuff like that. For ADS, you don't ever need your ADS to be quite as high. I mean, again, as fast as you feel comfortable, but ADS should just be whatever you feel the best to control recoil with, while also still being able to kind of track people, because people are very mobile in Apex Legends. Think of like an Octane sprinting around and you're trying to ADS, shred him down as he's running away from you. I personally recommend 4. I think 4 is just fast enough to keep track on people, but you also still have very good control over recoil. And this is what I've settled on. I've gone up to 5 before, and I just felt like my recoil wasn't quite as good as it has been before. And I just felt way more comfortable on 4. So, but again, I think go to the very top and see. This is way too much for me. Control 8 ADS and do it. Go for it. Yeah, start from the top, work your way down. Per optic setting is something I would recommend going into firing range, grabbing these optics, changing these optics out, and seeing how they feel to you. I have 1 times in iron sights and 2 times, both on 4. I feel like 4 gives me the most control. I feel like I can really laser things while still being able to keep up in the desired range of the sight. And then for what's happening? For like 3 times and beyond, I turned it up to 5 just so I can have some more personal control with like flick shotting with like a sniper, let's say. And the way I found this out is I just picked like 3 times in the Sentinel, and I was practicing my flick shots like this. And eventually I was like, okay, 4, I want to be able to move faster and track people faster while I'm sniping. I turned it up to like 6, and I was like, okay, that's a little too fast for me. I landed on 5, I felt like I could flick and really track my opponents while sniping really well. That's what felt the most comfortable to me. Same type of thing, turn it up high, work your way down until you feel really comfortable with the setting. For Optic, I recommend just like the 3 times and above, turning up a little, at least one thing higher than 1 and 2 times, but I would recommend at least keeping it on the same level as it is. You can just turn it off as per Optic settings is set, no matter what you have. But I recommend trying it out with all of the optics. 1 and 2 times I find most comfortable being the same, which is 4. Mainly because I have a 1 and 2 times on my up close guns, just like the Bolt. Sometimes I'll have a 2 times on there, if not a 1 times. And 3 times I felt like I only used it for these long range guns like snipers and G7 stuff, so I put it to one where I feel like I can really just track people and snipe more, but I don't have to be like super high or I have to keep track of somebody who's running around in my face. Because if you're aiming on somebody in the face for 3 times, you should probably evaluate what you're doing wrong. That's what I recommend. Response curve, you can give linear a try if that feels more comfortable to you. All these other ones I feel like, to me, are weird. Classic feels super good to me, personally. Give linear a try if that feels... I heard a lot of controller players I've tried out linear, and some of them I felt very comfortable on there, so give it a shot. All the look dead zones, move dead zones, you shouldn't really touch unless you have weird issues with your controller. Now, advanced look controls, this is something that if you really want to go in and take the time and, check out all of these and, take the time to really change them all up and stuff, go for it. I will say, if you just want to turn aim assist off, you turn off target compensation. That is aim assist. Aim assist is no longer there. See how I'm not getting slowed down anymore? I guess this is better. I'm not getting slowed down by the target. Feel free to take it off if you want. I took it off for a little bit. I ended up putting it back on. It makes changing controls a little awkward. So I just leave custom look controls off. But if you really want to take the time and kind of check that all out, go for it. Alright, video. I recommend 90 should be the lowest you go. What this does is it gives you literally the full field of view of the screen. See here, as I stand still, right here I can only see half of the sniper rack to my left. If I turn that up to, or if I turn that down to 70, boom, I can't see that sniper rack at all. So that's so much of my screen that I'm not able to see. If I turn that all the way up to 110, I can see this entire rack over here. So there's a lot of screen over here that I get to see. I feel like I can really keep track of what's going on in the game. There's a lot of stuff going on, teams coming from the side, stuff like that. Somebody running around you. I recommend going as high as you feel comfortable. If you think this is too much for you, I wouldn't recommend going any lower than 90. I think it's probably the lowest you should go. Just go 110, I think. Just try out 110. You get the most view. You literally get the most view on your screen. It really helps you keep track of things. Then audio. I have sound effects to maxed out just because things like footsteps and fire, stuff like that, I want to be as clear as possible. Dialogue, I have the second highest. I feel like I'm able to distinguish clearly, whether a character's pinging something or saying third party or whatever. And then I just have the music turned down just because I think it's loud enough here. Stuff like that. So yeah, that's the controls I recommend. I'm just going to do a little brief overview. Stacking is a very important one. I think you should have it set on stacking or both. Floating can be very distracting. Definitely give that a shot. Try out this crosshair damage. See if the enemy is distracting to you like that. Try turning it off and getting used to hit register with just some of the numbers coming up. And that's a setting for both mouse and keyboard and controller alike. This is going to be for both mouse and keyboard and controller. Everything in gameplay doesn't matter what you're using. The second one I recommend is testing out Tritanopia for yellow reticle. See if that helps you in your accuracy a little bit more. If not, keep it on normal. Again, really just changes your reticle to yellow. That's the only important thing it does. In controller, I just really recommend hold for both of these for all of the sensitivities. Turn it as high as you feel comfortable moving with. turn it up high, work your way down, whatever you feel comfortable, moving as fast as possible while still having good control. Test out all of these per Optic settings. Do, again, the same thing, as you feel as fast as comfortable as you feel while going as fast as possible. And then yeah, video 110, audio, stuff like that. Hopefully this guide kind of helps you guys out. I know pretty much every single controller player who plays Apex Legends and makes content puts these kinds of videos out, but I hope this helps you guys out. Again, I really recommend picking up a gun like, let's say like a Sentinel or a Wingman, you know, kind of a flick shot, you know, quick shot, single fire gun like that, and also something like an R99 to really test out these sensitivities and test out how you control recoil and aim onto people and snap aim onto people, stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully this video helps you guys out, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.